Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the November 6th, 2012 Fellowship of the Geeks live broadcast. Excuse me. He's Les Webster.
Good evening.
I'm Thomas Chick, and joining us in the Google Hangout is Mike Marlowe.
You can't prove anything.
Excuse me, I got a little something, a little frog in my throat or something. We are one man short this evening. James Pickering from the Galaxy Call Dallas website could not join us tonight. Hope everything's okay, James, and we'll catch you later, man. um, Hope everybody's had a good week. Hope everybody had a good Halloween. Did you do anything special for the holiday?
I was at the shop,
Woohoo!
so
You, Mike?
No, just passed out candy to the local children's.
You didn't take Alex out?
No, we didn't.
Um, has he gone out yet? He's 6 now, right?
He's 6. We haven't actually gone out officially, like really trick or treating. We've taken him to like carnivals and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, that's cool.
how about you?
Stayed in. Turner Classic Movies were showing a lot of the Universal horror films, so that's what I was doing. I didn't hand out candy. So I just took it easy, watched some scary movies and good scary movies, and just enjoyed the evening, pretty much.
Good.
Um, yes, we know today is election day.
We don't
Okay.
care.
Yeah, well, we're not going to obviously we're not going to talk about the results because we know just about as much as anybody else. The experts know, but just hope that you've done your civic duty and voted today. That your voice was heard. Tonight we have a couple of topics. One, we're going to kind of revisit. We didn't really go into too much last week because, quite frankly, we were still kind of shocked and still kind of disbelieving that that this was actually happening. But we're going to kind of go back over a little bit. Disney purchases Lucasfilm, and specifically, excuse me, kind of what we think may be happening in the next trilogy, which will start up in 2015. I don't know if you guys saw, but I saw an image on Facebook, and I shared it on my page. It was a scene from Back to the Future 2, where Marty was walking around, and he walked by this place, and in the picture, someone had superimposed on the bill on the marquee Star Wars Episode 7. I'm like, well, that's great because that was 2015.
Sure.
So, so it all works out. um, Everybody else has gone over this to a certain degree on their website or just chatting on social media. So I know there's going to be a lot of people that are kind of sick of talking about this. And let me get this out of the system tonight, and we'll leave it alone for a while. Lucas originally said that he intended the trilogy. He intended it to be 9 episodes. I remember hearing something about that in the early 80s. I did see some scuttlebutt last week of someone who'd had written a biography on. I think it was unauthorized biography of Lucas saying that there was going to be 12 episodes, which was the first time I ever heard it.
Yeah, same here.
But I had always heard 9. But from what I had heard from the original producer, Gary Kurtz, who helped produce the original trilogy, he had said what Lucas had intended to happen in episode 7, 8, 9, and a lot of that stuff it actually happened earlier in Jedi and had been reformatted and all that. So this is totally new, I guess, a new palette or something. They said it's going to be original story. They're not taking anything. They're not taking a book. They're not making uh, uh, taking one of the novels and making it into a movie or one of the comics. It's going to be original story, but they may take some ideas and stuff or stuff that was in the books or the books or the comics and put them in. This is not new. Lucas did not come up with the double-bladed lightsaber. That was actually done in one of the Dark Horse comics a couple of years before, and that kind of stuff. So it's happened before. So with all that crap being said, let me just go ahead and kind of say what I think is going to happen, and not that I'm any better than anyone else at this point regarding this. I do think it'll be set 25, maybe 30 years into the future. There's precedents because the gap between 3 and 4 was 20 years. That way we had the babies grow up to be adults for 4, 5, and 6. This would be done so they can bring back the original cast members. Mark Hamill, he's not come out and said it, but he's been doing a lot of talking recently because he came out and said that Lucas called him and Carrie Fisher out to lunch. He said last summer, I don't know if that was summer of this year or summer of last year, but he took him out to lunch and he says, I'm thinking about doing 7, 8, and 9. So he was getting their input or just letting them know that he was going to do it. That tells me that Lucas wants them in the picture. So I think somehow Han, Luke, and Leia, and the others will be involved somehow in the movies. I don't think that'll be the focus. I think the focus will be on the children. Because the prequels, Lucas said the Star Wars is Anakin's story. The first trilogy is Anakin's story. The second trilogy is Anakin's children. So the obvious conclusion is the third trilogy will be his grandchildren. Am I totally off base at this point?
Anakin's grandchildren?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're talking about Han and Leia's kids, and Luke if they have Luke married and have kids. Well, we don't know if we'll have Mara Jade. We don't know that yet.
Well,
That's only in the books. Go ahead, Mike.
If they're really going to avoid the stories that have already been done, then are they going to invent new children for Han and Leia?
I would say so.
That seems like an impressively bad idea to me.
Huh? What'd you say? You said you think
That just seems like a bad idea.
What would you think they would do? You think they would just keep going on with Luke and them?
Oh no, absolutely not. They're going to have to do something different. They're going to have to. I think they're going to have to get away from those characters. I mean, sure, they'll probably have cameos, but at least in the first movie. But they're going to have to make a departure because they've already. I mean, if they're really going to avoid characters that they've created in the novels and in the comic books, then Han and Leia's kids are out because they're already there. Yeah, sure, they could probably invent children for Luke, but I mean, the whole explosion thing was Anakin having children, ultimately. So that might just not be a good road to go down.
Well, Luke and Mara did have kids. So, I mean, if they want to get away from that and do something entirely different, then it's going to happen.
Well, didn't Mara Jade first appear in the Grand Admiral Thrawn's books?
Yes.
Heir to the Empire and the others?
Yes.
To me, that's essential. That's somebody they need to bring in, is Thrawn and Jade.
I'm not saying that they're not, but I'm just because they said they'll bring in some aspects of the books and the novels, but they're going to do something. This is a original story.
Yeah.
And Mike's point is valid. That if the focus is going to be on the grandkids, which has happened in some of the books, especially what is it, the New Order, or isn't that the series of books, the New Order or some such? Anyway, then I guess they'll have to stay away from that, which basically blows my theory out of the water. So I don't know what they'll do.
Well, Mike, you said they need to create new grandchildren.
If they're not going to use existing characters that have been created in the movie,
I
then
think that would just cause a ruckus with Star Wars fans.
Well, so do I. I think it's a horrendously bad idea. But
I have to agree there.
But I mean, if they're going to focus on grandchildren, and they're not going to use existing characters, I mean that 2 plus 2 equals they're going to create new grandchildren.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's going to be a new story, but they'll take elements. They may take elements from existing books and comics.
Yeah.
That could mean the grandchildren, but I don't know. If they're staying to what Lucas said, is that Star Wars is Anakin's story, that's the natural progression. I know I've seen some people say, well, that story's over with, there's other stories to be talked about. True, but that was not the intention.
Well, and also, given that the track record with, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I'm only going to hack off the hardcorest fans here. Anakin was not the nicest guy, not the most likable character in the prequel trilogy. It might be a good chance, Episode 7 might be a good chance to get away from Anakin. Create something a little more fan-friendly.
Like Jar Jar? Yes, I went there.
I'm going to pretend you didn't say that.
That reminds me, what does Alex want for Christmas?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Did you say a drum set?
I'd rather have a drum set than a talking Jar Jar doll.
A talking Jar Jar Binks. That's what he wants.
Okay.
One of those banks.
Yeah, I need to teach him the finer points of arson anyway. So go ahead, send that on.
Well, there's, with all these books that are out there, there is such a fountain of information, a fountain of stories they can pull from. And yeah, I'm not saying that they're going to do Heir to the Empire, but they're going to use Thrawn, they're going to use Jade, they're going to introduce these people, and then yes, I believe 7 will probably be the birth of the children, at least the first 2. And then after that, you're going to have their training, and then the cataclysm for number 9. Some huge threat.
So you basically want them to do the Heir to the Empire trilogy?
No, I don't. I'm just saying that they're going to pull. I believe they'll introduce Thrawn. They'll introduce Mara Jade, and something will be resolved there. And at the end of that will be the birth of Jaina and Jace. Those first 2.
I think so.
And maybe even Anakin. They may have all 3 children by the end of that movie. Because otherwise, to me, if they want to do that, I would want to see Courtship of Princess Leia. That was, to me, was a great novel. But for this story, I think they would cram all that info into one film, and then in number 8, they would have the training of the kids, like they did in the series with Luke as the mentor, the Jedi mentor for all the groups on Yavin.
Yeah.
And then in the last one, they would have this cataclysmic fight of some sort, maybe the end of the Empire.
Thoughts, Mike?
I admit I was a fan of the Thrawn books too, so I would not be opposed to the idea of bringing Thrawn in. I'm really not sure how good an idea it is to go back to the triumvirate as main characters. Something tells me they're just not going to do that. I mean, if nothing else, Harrison Ford is 70 years old. I mean, I don't know how many more action movies he's got in him.
Well, that's. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I could see them using him in a mentor type role, which would just be really fun and awkward as hell. But just because of the character, and I don't know. I ultimately, yes, they went with the prequel trilogy. They went back to a younger Anakin, but they brought in new people to do it, and I really think that that's what they're going to have to do with the later trilogy as well.
Why do I have the feeling that 7 could be the death of Chewbacca?
Actually, I was looking at the death of Han Solo. I think that would be the way they would get Harrison Ford back, is to make sure the character gets killed off. And you're definitely veering off from the books and the books and comics.
Yes.
I think you would come back.
Not if you set him as being like 70 years old. I mean, it could be essentially set after all the books and the comics.
Well,
True.
So instead of doing the 20 or 30 year jump, you do a 40 or 50 year jump. It's really not that big a jump.
well, they could do 100-year jump and just miss all of this and just have Luke come in as a Force spirit, just like Obi-Wan.
It just goes straight to the legacy storylines.
That would be cool. I wouldn't mind
think so.
I
think
wouldn't
it'd be
mind seeing Legacy.
It'd be really dark and funky for Star Wars, but it would be cool.
I totally enjoyed Legacy. I would love to see that as a live-action series of films.
Totally.
It'll be basically an entire new cast, with the exception of Luke.
Right. But he did appear in there a couple times.
He did a couple of times. I actually like that deal a lot.
That's doable. Well, whatever they do, it's going to be highly anticipated.
Yeah,
And if they put Disney puts that out and Marvel's Avengers 2 out at the same year,
it's going to be the same summer.
same summer, I got a feeling that they're going to try to run Avengers first
Oh,
because Star Wars is going to smoke it.
yeah, Avengers is already set. It's going to be free comic book day weekend of 2015. Yeah. Well, they're smart to do that.
But see, Lucas always used Memorial Day weekend as his opening. And those two, that would be way too close together.
Yeah, but Lucas doesn't have control over that anymore.
No,
If he's smart, he would put it toward.
middle of July.
I was thinking 4th of July weekend.
Now that would be a Marvel move. Didn't they do that with Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Disney's driving now, so it
Yep.
can happen.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what else is supposed to be slated for that year. I would have to go back and look. Or even put it late July, because August is usually a dead month movie wise. I mean, there's a couple of good ones, but it's usually not big blockbusters. So
School's starting.
the school's starting, so if you put it out toward the end of July, it would
If you put it out just before San Diego Con, it's
Well,
going to.
that's only about another week or so after 4th of July. So I mean,
Yeah. It's about the third
it's about
week.
it's about you'd be basically splitting it from what you were saying. 4th of July and me saying the end of the month.
Yeah.
So, split the difference. Well, we got that solved.
Totally.
Yeah, the more I think about it, a legacy trilogy would be awesome. And for those who are not understanding what we're talking about, Dark Horse put out a series. What's about 5 years ago, something like that, Mike.
I was thinking 3 or 4.
Okay, well,
Yeah, somewhere in there.
5 at the very latest. Star Wars Legacy, and essentially what it was about 100 and some odd years after the events of Jedi, which is kind of what we were talking about. And the lead character of the book was Cade Skywalker, who is Luke's descendant, but he did have the abilities of the Force, but he basically shunned them. He would rather go around and be a mercenary pirate. And it was him battling what he knew his destiny was going to be, and whether he was actually going to go back or stay what he was doing. It was a very well written. It was a very well written series and beautifully illustrated. Sorry. Is that a fair assumption there, Mike, of what or explanation of what it was?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Really well done. I missed the series. I do.
They had around 50 issues, I believe they said, online.
Yeah. Well, there was a mini series after that kind of helped resolve stuff after it being canceled. But
Yeah, that's 125 years.
125 years. Okay.
That's a big difference. That would give you characters, and although there's a great story in sense, that gives you characters that Star Wars fanatics don't know.
Oh, and an entirely new political landscape.
Yeah.
The whole thing was different. I mean, the Empire was. I don't know how much. We don't bother. I mean, this came out years ago. We don't have to worry about spoilers. Ultimately, the Empire was sort of still around, but it was, to a certain extent, one of the good guys, because the Sith had split off and had just taken over the galaxy on their own without the Empire, and so the Empire and what was left of the good guys were basically the only normal humans left. So there was sort of an uneasy alliance between them, as I recall.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
That's probably a publication that's offered in
They're
book form now.
yeah they're collected as trades, but I don't know if they put them together as omnibuses, which I would love to have.
Oh yeah. Picked up.
One of the neat things about that series was I forgot his Sith name. It was lead Sith, but it turned out to be
Darth Crate.
yeah.
Great.
Turned out to be a character they actually introduced in the other series, which was taking place before the Clone Wars. It was the series that was set between, I think it was called Star Wars Republic, but it was set between episodes 1 and 2. It was a character they introduced then. But so basically the character's been around like
He's like 200 years old.
Yeah.
He was like 200 years old.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I was like,
Because he wasn't young then, even.
no, he wasn't young then, and he already knew The thing was he was a Tusken Raider. His father was a Jedi, but he but he was living among the Tuscans, and his son. This is his son, who was raised as a Tusken Raider, but it was also learned the Jedi discipline and became a Padawan of oh God, can't remember his name, but it was the council member that we saw in the prequels with the kind of looked like Mr. Conehead, but I can't remember his name right now. But he became a Padawan to him to continue his training, and then here we are in Legacy, and he's a Sith Lord and creating others. And there was other Sith Lords. It was really really cool series.
Yeah, the Sith had abandoned the
Rule too.
Yeah, the rule of two completely.
Although that, who says the Sith has to obey a rule?
Right.
Well, obviously they don't have to obey a rule because, sorry, but Darth Maul gets split in half and somehow he pulls his pants up and he's one person again.
Yeah. Although that show will eventually go over to one of the Disney channels. I think they announced that this is its last season on Cartoon Network.
Oh, really?
I think it was contractually set up for through this next season, and then the thinking is it will move over to one of the Disney channels, which makes sense. I mean, that's what's going to happen to the Star Wars titles once the contract's done with Dark Horse. They'll go to Marvel.
Oh man, you mean Spike won't show the Star Wars movies anymore? We'll have to go watch them on Disney Kids XD, whatever the hell it is.
Well, they'll probably show them on they'll probably show them on ABC Family.
There you go.
Well, if it gets real good, they can go to ESPN.
No, I already made the joke about having Darth Vader open a sports center.
Yeah.
Because that's going to happen.
I'm sure there'll come a commercial for ESPN with Vader on the.
Well, I'm just talking about
at the podium.
I'm just talking about him being some little opening before they start up the show.
Doesn't ESPN have a sports bar in a couple of select cities? That would just be cool. The Dark Wings of the Sith.
Have the band for Java playing there.
There you go. Well, hell, I remember one show, a Sports Center. It opened up with Liam Neeson and oh god, the black guy. It was basically to say that
Sam Jackson?
Huh?
Sam Jackson?
No. It was basically to kind of tie into the fact that the A-Team movie was out.
Oh, that.
They drove up in the van and dropped off the guys who were doing the show that night. And then next thing you know, they're on set, and you know, good evening, I'm so and so, and I'm so and so, and welcome to Sports Center, and started in. I was just like, you've got to be kidding me! They got Liam Neeson to do that?
It's all about the Benjamins, man.
Huh?
They paid Liam Neeson to do that,
Well, yeah.
and they paid ESPN to do that.
It got him out of making a personal tour.
There you go.
So yeah, they're not above getting Darth Vader, or maybe the droids involved somehow in the open a sports center. So well, we solved that.
After all, they did do a Christmas special years ago.
See, that can come out again now, or do a new version.
Yeah. They had what, 2?
As far as I know, they did one. One was bad enough.
One was Christmas, and I believe they did a second one.
I'm not aware of it. I know the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Yeah, we need that on Blu-ray.
The special edition. Holiday Special, the special edition,
We need Lucas
on
to do a
Blu-ray.
commentary for it as well.
Do what?
We need Lucas to do a commentary for it as well.
Going, I'm sorry. Didn't really have much control over that.
I was really drunk at this when we shot
I was
this.
really, I was really drunk at the time.
Are you talking about the one with B. Arthur?
Yeah. B. Arthur, Art Carney, Starship was there. Or I guess it was Jefferson Starship at the time. I get them mixed up. Starship's when they really started going downhill. When it became basically became Mickey Thomas's band.
That was the 80s. Enough said.
Enough said. Okay. Yeah, I would definitely now that you brought it up, a legacy trilogy would be awesome.
Would be awesome. It's not what they're going to do. Mostly.
No.
Awesome, but you know, it would just be cool.
We'll
We can
find out in a
dream,
couple
damn
of
it.
years.
We
Well,
can
that could
dream,
be-
damn it.
Huh?
We can dream, damn it.
Oh yeah.
They could use that as in a Clone Wars format. Do a little animated of that to cover those issues. In each issue or each episode, take say 2 of the issues and whittle it down to 25 episodes.
Yeah. I really wish they would go back and do. If they would do something like that, I would like for them to actually go back and do Shadows of the Empire and maybe go ahead and do the Thrawn trilogy as animated movies, and just specifically for DVD. I could see them doing that maybe.
Yeah.
Doing a series of animated movies.
You know what someone ought to point out to them? Someone ought to point out to them that in England about 15 years ago, somebody somewhere decided to do that with a couple of Terry Pratchett books. And they're actually not bad. They made what was essentially like a 3 or 4 hour mini series out of each of 2 of his novels. And it was animated. And that would be just a beautiful way to do those stories. The Shadows of the Empire and the Legacy stuff. To just do them as either just short run, like half-hour episodes, or just like miniseries, like 2 hour chunks of miniseries. Just that would just be really cool. They won't do it, but it would be really cool.
It makes too much sense.
Absolutely. They'd make a killing. I mean, just put them straight to DVD for crying out loud. Don't worry about broadcasting them somewhere. Not that Disney doesn't have enough freaking cable channels to broadcast them somewhere.
Oh my God! Yeah, I sat down and figured it out the other night. They have 11 channels.
I believe it.
I mean, we're talking 2 ABC channels. Well, 3 if you want. There's ABC News too, cable channel. Of course, you've got the Disney channels, and then you got all the ESPNs. That's about 11 channels. Les is over here trying to figure it out.
No, I'm just thinking of if they had any of the premium movie channels too, but they don't.
Not yet.
No,
Right.
they'll work their way toward it, I'm sure.
Yeah, they might have to save up a little money after dropping that kind of coinage on Lucasfilm. Honestly.
Well, and if they're truly eyeing Hasbro as the rumor that came out yesterday, they're going to do that. That could be, well, that may be another channel right there, because Hasbro and Discovery have the Hub network. They're behind the Hub network.
How much is Hasbro worth? I mean, seriously, how much money do people think Disney has just sitting in their mattress or something?
Well, the article that that I saw mentioned the fact that there was a 3-year time span between them purchasing Marvel and then the Lucasfilm purchase, but the discussions to buy Lucasfilm only took 6 months. So I mean, if they're going to turn around, wait a year or so, and then seriously pursue Hasbro.
Well, my thinking here is that there's no way Hasbro's worth $4 billion.
Oh,
It's just not that big. It's
four
just
billion.
impossible. I mean, I can't imagine it being a billion. I'd be impressed if it was half a billion. But
Well, I mean,
that's a lot
they,
of cash sitting around.
well, I mean, they got all the games and toys and stuff, but they're the ones that are behind. They've got the Transformers and they got GI Joe. Those are also doing comics and movies, that kind of stuff too. So those are going to be that brings in a little change. Although if that gets involved, then Disney has to deal with Paramount again.
Yeah.
Because I think Paramount's the one that's putting out those movies, so they gotta go talk to them again. Say, sorry, that issue we had before, it's come up again. Make some kind of arrangement where they get the profit of a couple of movies, and then from then on, it's their baby. I don't know. I don't know how that works. I'm not smart enough to know.
An individual movie doesn't make that kind of money. I mean,
$1 billion? No.
right. I mean, there are movies that have made $1 billion, but it's taken them a couple of years to do it. And usually there's just a killing being made in the DVD market. I don't know. It just
I
seems
don't.
like
I don't. I don't know the value of Hasbro right now. I don't. So
I'm willing to bet Hasbro is working like hell to figure it out. But
I'm sure. I'm sure if there's any truth to this, that Disney's doing their due diligence on it.
oh sure, it's a major investment.
Huh?
It's a major investment. Of course, they're going to do their part.
Yeah, I know. I know. The other thing we want to kind of go over a little bit tonight was it was a big thing back in the '90s, and when did it start up again? How long has it been around? About 4 or 5 years.
What is that?
And what I'm talking about is variant covers.
Did it ever really stop?
Uh, I don't know if it really stopped, but it certainly died down to what it was in the '90s, and
Yeah.
it's bloomed up again. And the reason why this is, I've kind of had this in the back of my mind about us discussing this before, but what's really brought it out this time was the announcement yesterday from DC Comics, saying in February the first issue of their new title, Justice League of America, will have 52 variant covers. Each of the variant covers will have a flag. 50 of those will be the individual states. So, like, we're here in Dallas, Fort Worth, so there would be a variant with the Texas state flag, and then of course there would be one for New York, and then California, and that kind of stuff. So there's 50 there, and then Puerto Rico, and then Washington D.C. Has it gone too far? That seems a little too much, but then again, some of them only do. It seems like when you start doing 4 or 5, that's a little too much, but some will do a lot more. I mean, The Walking Dead had a dozen.
Yeah.
The new event, the Uncanny Avengers, which came out, I counted 13 covers. I think that was including the original, but 13, 14 covers.
Currently, a lot of issues will come out with 2, maybe 3 variants.
Yeah, even with the some of the independents are doing three or four variant covers on some of their stuff.
2 or 3. I'm kind of wishy-washy on that. You know,
Well, Captain Marvel recently came out with their big variant cover was a Susan G. Komen.
well, Marvel did a lot of those for
Yes.
October.
But a lot of the titles, you'll get a title that has got shipping of 25% for 4 covers and a variant, which I can understand too. I don't have a problem with that. Back in the 90s, Legends of the Dark Knight came out with 5 different covers, and the only thing different about it was the color.
The color of the background. Yep.
It was blue and red and
No, they're all fluorescent colors. I remember that because I was like, oh my god.
yeah.
They shouldn't have.
But, you know,
52 is a little much.
52 is way too much. But is even 3 or 4 variants too much?
Not if you don't bother with them.
True.
I mean, what they're trying to do is they're trying to hook people into buying 3 or 4 different copies of the same thing, which is we don't necessarily want to go into the moral and ethical ramifications.
But like Les brought up, you know, they'll have a 1 in 25 variant, but then they'll charge you because that's a 1 in 25. So that's going to be what, $15, $20 for that.
Could be.
And then you go from there. So I mean, what they're trying to do is they're trying, in some cases like that, they're trying to go for someone like you and what I used to be, the hardcore collectors. It would want that.
But then there are those that are 1 in 20, and it's no more than a regular copy, or even some of them are no cost.
Yeah.
But you've got 20 copies of that, and maybe you've got 1 subscriber. What are you going to do with the other 19 copies? There are some great variants coming up, and to get the variant, what title was it?
We were looking at the Mars Attacks.
Mars Attacks, exactly. Mars Attacks, to get 1 variant was 20 issues, and to get the second variant was 40 issues.
So you had to buy 40 copies.
But you would get 2 at 20 and 1 at 40. So you'd get 3 variants. But that's
But you're still talking about 40 copies of
40
that one
copies.
issue.
of something that may not sell.
Yeah.
And there were some great covers for them.
Oh, it was a great idea. What they did for those who don't know. Like I said, it's Mars Attacks, and this is from IDW. They're doing a 5-week event in January, and each week there'll be a new title. One. The first one is Mars Attacks Popeye. So the issue is the Martians showing up in Popeye, I guess in Popeye's universe, and so that's going to be done. But the thing is, one variant cover, it says, I think it was Mars Attacks Miss Fury, which of course Miss Fury's not in the book at all.
Right.
It's just a cover. And then the second one was another character, and that's what they did for the other 4 issues. You know, the 2 variants has Mars Attacks someone else, but it was not a character or characters that were going to be in the book.
Right.
I mean, the one that floored us was the one that was Mars Attacks Strangers in Paradise.
Mm-hmm.
Covered
by Terry Moore.
The Terry Moore cover.
And wasn't one Dave Sim doing Cerebus?
Dave Sim was doing Cerebus, and John Byrne was doing the Robo 2000.
Didn't you have a Judge Dredd?
Yeah. Well, I think Judge Dredd's a regular one.
Okay.
Because that's a property that IDW has. But the other one was Spike. one of the other variants was
Yeah.
Spike, because that was that what they were aiming. That's the last. Basically, you'll see Spike for IDW because Dark Horse owns the license now.
Right. Just like Abstract Studios owns
Yeah,
Strangers in Paradise.
yeah. I mean, it's a great idea. I like it, but and then I know there's some publishers, I won't go into their names, talking about. Well, it's kind of like that, where they would do variants where the variant cover it really has nothing to do, and it features characters that are nowhere in the book. What I said with IDW is kind of different because they don't do that. They don't do that all the time. This is a special thing, where one publisher seems to do it all the time. Featured, here's a character that will not going to be in the book, but
Secret Wars tie-in. Get one panel.
what I'm talking about is the anniversary of a character. So the cover of that character, the cover features that character, but the character is not in the main book at all.
Right.
But it happens on all the titles because they're celebrating this anniversary of the character, the creation of the character.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I kind of see that, but why can't I have a variant that pertains to the characters that are in the book? Is that asking too much? Is that asking too much?
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right. Forgive me.
So what do you think, Mike?
Well, I mean, not being a collector either, it doesn't really, the multiple cover thing doesn't really faze me at all. I don't pay any attention. I don't want to say I don't pay any attention to covers, but I mean, to me,
You
there's
just did.
yeah. Well, I very rarely buy something because of a cover, so it doesn't really faze me that much. I'm not. It's not. I'm more of a story guy. I don't. The art is really, for the most part, secondary to me, unless it's just really brilliant art. I'm more interested in the story and the characters and what's going on, and how the story's told.
Well,
So, I mean, for me, the cover is really just art. So, and I hate to say lesser part of it, but that's kind of the way it works out.
well, I'm not saying that that's a decision that we base things on, but I mean we're going to pick up the book if we're interested in the story. But it just when I'm sitting there and there's three covers, and I'm like, well, I know what they want. They want you to buy all three, especially if the art's good, and more times than not, the art on all of them are good. But in these economic times, that's just not really feasible.
But there are people that will follow an artist. I mean, I will.
That's true.
But there are people that will buy that comic for that artist's cover. And for me, if it was Terry Moore doing Strangers in Paradise cover, I would love it. I would like to have that, just to see how he handles the Martians in that realm of his.
Yeah.
But that being said, I'm like Mike. It's got to have a story. It's got to have something of depth, not just biff, pow, bam, and the fight is over and the story is over. There's got to be something solid to it.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, I can handle Biff, Pam, Pow as the story. That's fine. But don't try to get me to buy it 8 times just so you can stick a different piece of art on it. I mean, that's screwing over your loyal customer base, and that's not cool.
Well, I'd like to know how. I don't know how I want to phrase this. Not that I'm going to offend anybody, but just, in these days and times where all the artwork, well, not all the artwork, but the cover artwork at least, is up on the internet. You like that piece of art? Are you going to buy the comic, or are you going to get that image and then print it out and put it in a frame?
Yeah.
You could do that. I'm not suggesting anybody do that, but it's probably
That
being
would
any.
because that would be wrong.
That would be wrong, but you know it's being done.
Yes. Almost every issue that hits the internet is somebody in the world is printing it out, going, "That's the coolest. I want that."
And if they have a decent printer, it's not that hard.
Yep.
Yeah, but would you want to run 52 of them? Would you want to sit there and copy 52 of these images so you could have the 50 states, the District of Columbia, and PR?
It's really not that
Well,
hard.
here's the thing. Basically, it's just like what you were saying with the Legends of the Dark Knight back in the '90s. That's all they're doing is they're changing the background. The foreground's still going to stay the same.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's not going to. I really hate to say this. It's not really. It's not any effort on their part to do that. So, I don't.
It's just a little stick on it that says "Place flag here," and that's
Well,
it.
or stick the characters on there. Yeah, the characters will go here. Kind of like those old dioramas that they would design to put on the back of the treasuries. You remember those?
Yep.
They're basically, for those who don't know what I'm talking about, back in the 70s, they used to put out, and they still do it every once in a while, but it's usually reprinting one of those old ones. Treasury edition size comics, which are about from the table here, about that tall.
About 18 inches by
Yeah,
12 or a little more.
something like that. And more times than, well, it was about 50-50 regarding new stories on reprints. Some of them were reprints, and some of them were brand new stories, and some of them may be both.
Yeah.
But what some of them would do, I think it was DC. I don't know if I can't remember if Marvel did, but on the back they would have a design where you could, if you wanted to, and I never did. You tear off the back and you cut it off, and basically it would be a diorama of the cover.
Yeah.
So it'd be in 3D, and it looked cool as hell. But I never did it. I don't know why I never did it, but I didn't.
You
Hello.
probably didn't want to cut up the back cover of your book.
Well, I mean that was back in the '70s, so I wasn't really thinking about being a collector at the time. I was just reading and enjoying. Because I did cut up on some. I did cut up. Hey, well, I was 5 or 6 or 7 at the time.
However, would you join the Merry Marvel Marching Society if you hadn't cut it up?
Oh, I didn't do that.
Oh.
Although I thought about cutting out the collect all the stamps though.
And he definitely did the mail order thing for the fake poo.
And the sea monkeys.
He definitely sea monkeys.
Burpee seeds. Win this bike.
Oh God, that reminds me of the old Rich Hall special. Did you saw that? What was that back in the late '80s?
Yeah.
Did you ever see that, Mike? Remember Rich Hall?
I remember Rich Hall. It's not ringing a bell though.
He did a special where basically he just realized that he never got his award for selling all the seeds back when he was a kid. So his whole trip was going across America to where he can find out what happened to his prize. that one scene where he went to the gas station, and of course he hits that line where the bell dings.
Uh-huh.
and he starts playing with it a little bit, and then decides to cut it up and starts playing. What song is that? It's also on the Tom Hanks, Big.
Oh, Chopsticks?
It's not Chopsticks, but the one before it.
Uh,
I think he did. I think they did a song. But I may be wrong.
Isn't it
Or he plays the song.
Isn't it the same song that they're doing now in the iPad mini commercial?
yeah.
Yeah,
I don't remember what it's called, but it's the same song.
it's the same song.
For those of you who need a more modern reference.
Heart and Soul.
Okay. But he's cut him up in different sizes. So it was so funny. It was such a funny little special. And God, where's Rich Hall? I wonder if he's still collecting money on Sniglets.
It's no telling.
I miss Sniglets too. I wish they can come back. I'm not even going to go into what Sniglets is. Just Google it. Anything else?
Well, like we were talking, the IDW is coming out with these variants, and they're going to be expensive because a retailer has just purchased 40 copies to get one special cover.
And he's going to pass the cost on to you,
And
it's justifiably so.
Yeah, he's not only going to try to make his money off the comics, the 40, but he's going to hike the price on that one to make sure that he covers some more.
Yep.
Oh, sure.
But I would love to have every one of those variants for all those comics.
Yep.
But it would just be next to impossible to get.
You want all 52 covers?
Oh, no.
Technically 53.
I really don't need 53 comics.
53 copies of one comic.
Yeah, just to make
After,
sure I have
after,
each flag.
after having a talk with your wife earlier this evening, you actually wouldn't be happy about it either.
Probably not.
I'm not talking about financially. I'm just talking about having the group.
I've already purchased my birthday and Christmas for quite some time.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about financially. I was just talking about room, space.
Well, yes.
Because 53, that's about half the short box right there.
Tough one to explain.
Yeah.
Can't get rid of that.
Well, you guys got anything else to say before we go ahead and close it up for the night? Mikey?
No, I have no more words.
Do you have any titles that are appealing to you guys right now?
What am I reading lately?
Well, I'll talk of one. I know Mike's doing a review of it for this week. I've already read it and almost did a review on it. It comes out tomorrow, and actually the first printing has sold out. It's called Freelancers from Boom Studios.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. I think it might be a pretty good. I assume it's going to be a series. I don't know if it's a short series or I don't know how long it's going to be, but it's pretty good. It's basically two female bounty hunters,
Okay.
more or less. But it's a lot like. Well, I don't want to spoil it. You'll just have to read Mike's review.
Okay.
I'm sure he's feels the same way that I did about it. But
No pressure.
no pressure.
Oh, and by the way, the cover price on it is $1 if you're interested.
Yeah, it's $1. I'm sure that helped sell it out. But Boom seems to do a lot of selling out of their books. So
I wonder if they're just not making very big runs, but anyway.
huh?
I wonder if they're just not doing very big print runs, but I don't want to knock Boom. I like
It
Boom.
could be. Of course, Rachel Rising, as always. I read the new issue last week, which was appropriate because it was Halloween night. I actually came home and read that first. That's something I always do every month when it comes out. Is get in there and um, read that and just go, oh my god, where is this going to go next? I'm hogging all the time, Mike. You got any you want to?
Um, I don't know. The two newer ones that I've been sort of into lately, uh, Dynamite has been doing a crossover with Paizo Publishing for their Pathfinder role playing game.
Yeah.
Um, they're actually up to, I think Pathfinder 3 is coming out like next week or something, or maybe it's this week. If you're into fantasy at all, it's fun stuff. It's actually pretty entertaining. The other one I will throw out there is Zenoscope is doing a book called Robin Hood.
Yes.
Um, it I like it. I mean it fits right into their multiverse thing. I think it will be interesting to see how they tie it back to some of the other stuff that's going on. But right now, we're it's it's a fun beginning anyway.
Yeah, I know the second issue. Did it come out last week or is it this week?
I think it was last week.
Okay. I have not read it yet, but I did enjoy the first issue.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's another good title. Good new title.
yeah. They've Zenoscope's doing some interesting stuff. I have to say I kind of wish they would ease up on the crossover stuff a little bit and just do some more like straight out storyline type stuff. I mean, I don't mind them being in the same world, but they don't always have to be meeting up with each other all the time. But besides that, there's some fun stuff going on there.
Okay. How about you?
I am rereading parts of the Manhattan Projects. And I don't know if you guys read that. I'm sorry to say, I don't know if you did a review of any of the issues.
I didn't. Did you, Mike?
I don't remember doing Manhattan Projects.
That is one of the most bizarre things I've read in a long time, but it is so amazing that it's got me hooked.
Issue 7 comes out tomorrow. I know that for a fact.
I'm ready for it because it deals with Oppenheimer, Einstein, Fermi, so many others, and von Braun, among others. But it's not just the creation of the atom bomb. There's more to it, and it's fascinating the way this guy is weaving the stories.
Okay. Any others?
Not at the moment.
Okay. With that, guess we'll go ahead and call it a evening. We'll be back 2 weeks from tonight, the 20th, and we should have a special guest with us. We have Kayla scheduled to join us in person with us. Hopefully we'll have James back. Mike will be there a little bit because that happens to be the week of Thanksgiving that he's got.
I have traveling to prepare for, so
Yes.
I will check in for a bit, but I will not be there the whole time.
Yeah. Well, a little bit's better than none.
So they say.
But so with that, we wish you a good evening. Have a good, safe couple of weeks, and we will see you back November 20th at 8 p.m. Central Time. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye, guys.